The rain hammers down like bullets on the cracked asphalt. 17-year-old Jamal Washington kneels beside the open door of a mangled Mercedes, his trembling hands slick with blood and rainwater. Inside, a pregnant woman screams, a sound that cuts through the storm like breaking glass. "Please, you have to hold on." Jamal's voice cracks as he tries to remember everything he's read in those medical textbooks at the library. The woman's designer dress is soaked through, her face twisted in agony. Behind him, a well-dressed man paces frantically in the downpour, his expensive suit ruined, his face pale with terror. "She's not going to make it! We're too far from the hospital!" The woman grabs Jamal's wrist with surprising strength, her eyes wild. "Promise me," she gasps between contractions. "If something happens to me, you'll take care of—" Thunder drowns out her words, but what she's about to say will change everything. Because what Jamal doesn't know yet is that saving this stranger's life will unlock the biggest mystery of his own. And the grateful response from her husband will reveal a connection that goes back 17 years, to the night Jamal was born. Sometimes the person you save is saving you right back. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., Jamal Washington's alarm clock buzzes in the cramped apartment above Chen's corner store. The sound cuts through the thin walls like a knife, but he never hits snooze. Can't afford to. He rolls out of his narrow twin bed and immediately checks on Mrs. Rodriguez in the next room. At 65, Rosa Rodriguez has been his guardian since he was found as a baby at Sacred Heart Hospital 17 years ago. She's the only mother he's ever known, and right now, she's dying. "Morning, Mrs. Rodriguez," Jamal whispers, gently shaking her shoulder. "Time for your insulin." She opens tired brown eyes that were once full of fire. Diabetes has stolen that spark, replacing it with a constant weariness that breaks Jamal's heart daily. Her medical bills eat through their budget like acid through metal. Jamal counts out her pills with practiced precision. Metformin, lisinopril, insulin that costs more than their monthly rent. Each pill represents hours of his life spent stocking shelves and mopping floors at the store downstairs. "Mijo," Mrs. Rodriguez says softly, using the Spanish endearment that always makes Jamal feel loved despite everything. "You don't have to take care of me. You should be thinking about college, about your future." Jamal helps her sit up, adjusting her pillows with gentle hands. "You are my future, Mrs. Rodriguez. You're all I've got." But that's not entirely true, and they both know it. Jamal has dreams, big ones. Every night after his 8-hour shift at the store, Jamal spreads medical textbooks across his tiny desk. Books borrowed from the Detroit Public Library, their pages worn thin by countless students before him. He's memorized Gray's Anatomy cover to cover. He practices CPR on an old pillow until his arms ache. His classmates at Cass Technical High School call him Dr. Dreamer. Not cruelly exactly, but with the kind of knowing smirk that says some dreams are too big for kids like them. Jamal touches the small silver cross hanging around his neck, a nervous habit he's had since childhood. It's the only thing that connects him to his unknown past. Mrs. Rodriguez found it pinned to his blanket when she took him from the hospital. "Your mother wanted you to have something beautiful," she always tells him. He walks 2 miles to school every morning to save the $1.50 bus fare. That money goes toward Mrs. Rodriguez's medication instead. During lunch, while other kids eat in the cafeteria, Jamal studies emergency medicine procedures in the library. He knows every ambulance route in Detroit. He's memorized the trauma protocols of 6 different hospitals. Maybe if I help enough people, he thinks during those quiet library moments, the universe will finally help me back. After school, Jamal rushes to Chen's corner store, where Mr. Chen pays him $8 an hour to stock shelves, run the register, and clean up after customers who don't know his name but depend on his smile. The work is honest but endless. "Jamal, aisle 3 needs restocking," Mr. Chen calls out in his thick accent. "And Mrs. Patterson wants her groceries carried to her car again." "On it, Mr. Chen." Jamal doesn't mind helping Mrs. Patterson. She's 83 with arthritis in both hands. He carries her bags not because she tips, she doesn't, but because she reminds him of Mrs. Rodriguez, because helping people feels right in a way that nothing else does. The store serves Detroit's forgotten neighborhoods. Customers pay with food stamps and crumpled dollar bills. Single mothers counting change for baby formula. Elderly men buying lottery tickets with their last $5. Jamal treats each person with quiet dignity, never judgment. During slow periods, he studies behind the counter. His current obsession, emergency obstetrics. Childbirth complications fascinate and terrify him in equal measure. He's read about breech births, umbilical cord prolapse, shoulder dystocia, conditions that can kill a mother and baby in minutes without proper intervention. "Why are you always reading those scary books, Jamal?" asks Deshawn, a regular customer around Jamal's age who dropped out junior year. "You know you ain't gonna be no doctor, right?" The words sting because they echo Jamal's own midnight doubts. EMT training costs $200. Paramedic school costs $10,000. Medical school? That might as well be $1 million. But Jamal keeps reading, keep learning, keeps hoping. Some evenings, when Mrs. Rodriguez feels strong enough, they sit together watching old medical dramas on their second-hand television. She notices how Jamal leans forward during the surgical scenes, how his eyes light up when the doctors save someone against impossible odds. "You have healing hands, mijo," she tells him during these quiet moments. "I've watched you your whole life. You were born to help people." Jamal wants to believe her, but belief feels like a luxury he can't afford. That night, like every night, Jamal falls asleep with a medical textbook open on his chest and his mother's cross pressed against his heart. He dreams of sirens and surgical lights, of saving lives that actually matter. He dreams of being more than just a corner store clerk with impossible dreams. What Jamal doesn't know is that tomorrow night, in the pouring rain, those impossible dreams will collide with reality in ways he never imagined. The universe is about to test every skill he's learned, every instinct he's developed, every ounce of courage he possesses. And the person he saves will save him right back. Thursday evening arrives with the kind of storm that makes smart people stay indoors. Rain hammers Detroit's cracked streets like bullets, turning every pothole into a small lake. Wind howls through abandoned buildings, rattling windows and bending streetlights at impossible angles. Jamal pulls his thin jacket tighter as he locks up Chen's corner store at 9 p.m. Mr. Chen left early. His wife is making dumplings for their anniversary. "You're a good boy, Jamal," he said, pressing an extra $10 bill into Jamal's palm. "Get home safe." But safety is relative when you're walking 2 miles through Detroit in a thunderstorm. Jamal keeps his head down, dodging puddles that could swallow his worn sneakers whole. The street lights flicker ominously, casting dancing shadows that make every empty doorway look threatening. His medical textbooks are wrapped in plastic bags. He can't afford to replace them if they get ruined. 3 blocks from home, Jamal hears it. The screech of brakes. The sickening crunch of metal against metal. A woman's scream cutting through the storm like a knife. Jamal's head snaps up. 50 yards ahead, a black Mercedes has skidded sideways into a lamppost. Steam rises from the crumpled hood, mixing with the rain to create an eerie fog. The car's hazard lights blink frantically, casting red shadows across the empty street. For a split second, Jamal hesitates. This isn't his neighborhood. Rich people have insurance, roadside assistance, cell phones that actually work. They don't need help from corner store clerks. But then he hears the woman scream again, not the scream of someone hurt in a fender bender, the deep, primal scream of someone in genuine agony. Jamal runs. His sneakers splash through puddles, sending dirty water up his legs. Rain stings his eyes, but he doesn't slow down. As he gets closer, he can see movement inside the car, 2 figures silhouetted against the dashboard lights. "Help!" A man's voice, raw with panic. "Somebody help us!" Jamal reaches the passenger side and peers through the rain-streaked window. What he sees makes his stomach drop. A blonde woman in her 30s sits in the passenger seat, her hands gripping her swollen belly. She's clearly pregnant. Very pregnant. Her expensive dress is soaked with sweat and something else. Her face is twisted in pain, eyes squeezed shut as she breathes in short, sharp gasps. In the driver's seat, a man in his 50s frantically stabs at his cell phone. His silver hair is perfectly styled despite the chaos. His suit expensive, but now wrinkled with stress. "No signal!" he shouts at the phone. "Damn storm knocked out the towers!" The woman doubles over with another contraction, letting out a sound that makes Jamal's blood run cold. "Sir!" Jamal pounds on the driver's window. "Sir, are you okay?" The man looks up, his face pale with terror. He quickly rolls down the window. "Thank God! Do you have a phone that works? My wife, she's in labor." Jamal pulls out his ancient flip phone, the kind that barely texts, let alone handles emergencies. No signal. Of course. "How far is the hospital?" Jamal asks. "Mercy General is 10 miles. The man's voice cracks. "But she can't wait. The baby's coming now." As if to prove his point, the woman screams again. This time, when she doubles over, Jamal sees a dark stain spreading across her dress. Her water just broke. "Sir, I need to look at her," Jamal says, his voice steadier than he feels. "I have some medical training." The man stares at him, this teenager in a soaked jacket standing in the rain. "You're just a kid." "We need real doctors." "There are no real doctors here," Jamal shoots back. "There's just me." The woman grabs her husband's arm. "Richard," she gasps between contractions. "Let him help. Please." Richard. The name echoes in Jamal's mind, but he doesn't have time to wonder why it sounds familiar. "Ma'am, I'm going to come around to your side, okay?" Jamal calls through the window. "I need to see what's happening." He runs around the car, his mind racing through everything he's read about emergency childbirth, crowning, umbilical cord position, breathing techniques, all theoretical knowledge he never thought he'd need. As Jamal yanks open the passenger door, the woman looks up at him with desperate eyes. "Please," she whispers, "don't let my baby die." The words hit Jamal like a physical blow. This isn't a textbook scenario. This is a real woman, a real baby, real lives hanging in the balance, and he's the only one here who might be able to help. Jamal touches his silver cross, a gesture so automatic he doesn't even realize he's doing it, and takes a deep breath. "What's your name, ma'am?" "Sarah," she gasps. "Sarah Westbrook." Westbrook. Another name that seems to echo in his memory, though he can't place why. "Okay, Sarah, I'm Jamal. We're going to get through this together." But as Jamal kneels beside the car in the pouring rain, he has no idea that he's about to deliver his own half-sister. Jamal yanks off his soaked jacket, his hands already moving with purpose. "Sarah, I need you to breathe with me, okay? Deep breath in through your nose." She nods frantically, sweat mixing with raindrops on her forehead. "It hurts so much." I know. But we're going to get through this." Jamal's voice carries a confidence he doesn't feel. Every textbook he's ever read suddenly seems inadequate compared to this moment. He tears his white work shirt into strips, creating makeshift towels and blankets. The rain soaks through his undershirt immediately, but he doesn't notice. Nothing exists except Sarah and the baby coming whether they're ready or not. "Richard, right?" Jamal looks at the panicked father. "I need you to hold Sarah's hand and keep her calm. Can you do that?" Richard nods, though his face is ghost pale. What should I say to her? Tell her she's strong? Tell her the baby's going to be beautiful? Tell her anything that keeps her breathing steady." Another contraction hits Sarah like a sledgehammer. She squeezes Richard's hand so hard his knuckles turn white, letting out a sound that cuts through the storm. Jamal positions himself, remembering everything from his obstetrics reading. Sarah, when the next contraction comes, I need small pushes, okay? Not one big push. Controlled, like you're breathing out slowly. How do you know all this? Richard asks, wondering creeping into his terrified voice. I study, Jamal says simply, checking Sarah's position. I've been studying for this my whole life, I just never knew it. The car's interior light flickers ominously. Outside, thunder crashes so loud it makes all three of them jump. But inside this small space, something almost sacred is happening. Okay, Sarah, I can see the baby's head. Jamal's heart hammers against his ribs. You're doing incredible. Sarah manages a weak smile between contractions. What's your name again? Jamal. Jamal Washington. Thank you for stopping, Jamal Washington, she whispers. Most people would have kept walking. No, Jamal says firmly, supporting the baby's emerging head with steady hands. Any decent person would stop. Richard stares at this teenager, this stranger who appeared from nowhere like an answer to prayer. Where did you learn to do this? Library books, Jamal admits, carefully checking the umbilical cord position. Detroit Public Library has a really good medical section. Library books? Richard's voice cracks with disbelief and gratitude. Another contraction. Sarah bears down, following Jamal's breathing guidance. The baby's shoulders appear, the most dangerous part of any delivery. Perfect, Sarah. One more big push and we meet your baby. But then Jamal sees something that makes his blood freeze. The umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck. His mind races through textbook knowledge. Nuptial cord. Happens in 30% of births. Usually not dangerous if handled correctly. The key is staying calm. Is something wrong? Richard notices Jamal's expression. Everything's fine. Jamal lies smoothly, his hands working to gently ease the cord over the baby's head. Sarah, really small pushes now. Let me help the baby out slowly. Sarah trusts him completely, following his instructions without question. The cord slips free. Crisis averted. One more push, Sarah. Your baby wants to meet you. With a final, exhausting effort, Sarah pushes, and suddenly Jamal is holding a tiny human being, a perfect baby girl, slippery and warm and absolutely beautiful. For a moment that lasts forever, the baby is silent. Then she takes her first breath and lets out the most beautiful sound in the world, a strong, healthy cry that cuts through the storm like sunshine. She's perfect, Jamal whispers, wrapping the baby in his torn shirt. Sarah, Richard, you have a perfect daughter. Sarah sobs with relief and exhaustion. Richard stares at his newborn daughter like he's seeing a miracle. And maybe he is. Jamal carefully places the baby on Sarah's chest, making sure she's positioned safely for breathing. The little girl has stopped crying, looking around with dark, curious eyes. She's so alert, Sarah marvels, stroking her daughter's tiny face. Smart baby, Jamal grins. She knows she's safe now. Richard can't stop staring at Jamal. Son, what you just did, I don't have words. You don't need words, Jamal says quietly. You just need to love her. Just then, red and blue lights pierce the darkness. Sirens wail through the storm. Someone from a nearby apartment building must have finally gotten through to 911. 3 paramedics splash through the puddles toward them, led by a veteran EMT named Miguel Rodriguez. No relation to Mrs. Rodriguez, but the name makes Jamal smile anyway. What do we have here? Miguel asks, taking in the scene. Baby girl, delivered about 3 minutes ago, Jamal reports, slipping naturally into medical language. Full-term, spontaneous vaginal delivery. Brief nuptial cord, but resolved without complications. Apgar looks like 9 or 10. Mom's vitals seem stable. Miguel raises an eyebrow. You medical? Not yet, Jamal says quietly. Someday, maybe. The lead paramedic examines both Sarah and the baby, nodding approvingly. You did everything right, kid. Textbook delivery. Better than textbook, actually. As the paramedics prepare to transport Sarah and the baby to the hospital, Richard grabs Jamal's arm. "Come with us," he says urgently. "Please, I need to know you're okay, and Sarah will want to thank you properly." Jamal looks down at his soaked clothes, his torn shirt, his muddy sneakers. "I don't belong in a hospital, Mr. Westbrook. I belong at home, making sure Mrs. Rodriguez takes her evening medication." But something in Richard's eyes, a desperate gratitude mixed with something deeper, makes Jamal nod. "Okay," he says. "I'll follow the ambulance." As the paramedics load Sarah and baby into the ambulance, the little girl's eyes find Jamal one last time. She reaches out with a tiny fist, and for reasons he can't explain, Jamal feels like he's looking at family. The ambulance doors close, sirens wail, and they disappear into the storm. Jamal stands alone in the rain, touching his silver cross and wondering why this night feels like the beginning of something much bigger than he could ever imagine. What he doesn't know is that he just saved his father's wife and delivered his own half-sister, and that Richard Westbrook has been searching for him for 17 years without even knowing it. At Mercy General Hospital, the emergency room buzzes with controlled chaos. Nurses move between curtained areas like dancers in a well-rehearsed ballet. The smell of antiseptic and coffee fills the air, along with the constant beeping of monitors and murmur of medical conversations. Jamal sits in the waiting room, still wearing his torn undershirt and muddy jeans. His hair has dried into unruly curls, and there are still traces of blood under his fingernails. He looks exactly like what he is, a teenage corner store clerk who just delivered a baby in a thunderstorm. Other waiting room occupants give him curious glances. A businessman in an expensive suit checks his Rolex impatiently. An elderly woman clutches her purse and whispers to her daughter about these young people today. Jamal doesn't notice. He's replaying every moment of the delivery, analyzing what he did right and what he could have done better. The neutral cord situation keeps running through his mind. What if he'd panicked? What if he'd made the wrong choice? "Jamal?" He looks up to see Richard Westbrook approaching, now wearing hospital scrubs. Someone found him clean clothes while Sarah and the baby were being examined. "How are they?" Jamal stands immediately. Richard's face transforms with pure joy. "Perfect. Both are perfect. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. They're calling her a miracle baby." His voice catches. "Because of you." "How's Sarah feeling?" "Exhausted but happy." "The doctors are amazed. They said the delivery was flawless. No complications, no tearing. Baby's APGAR scores are perfect." Richard shakes his head in wonder. "They asked who delivered her. When I told them it was a 17-year-old with library books, they didn't believe me." Jamal shifts uncomfortably. Anyone would have done the same thing. "No, son, they wouldn't have." Richard pulls out his wallet, thick with hundreds, credit cards, business cards. "Please, let me pay you something. This isn't nearly enough, but—" Jamal steps back, hands raised. "I can't accept that, sir." "What?" Richard looks genuinely confused. "Why not?" "Because I didn't help Sarah for money. I helped her because she needed help." Jamal's voice is quiet but firm. "That's not something you pay someone for." Richard stares at this teenager who just turned down more money than most people make in a month. "But you must. I mean, your clothes, your situation." "My situation is fine, Mr. Westbrook. I have everything I need." It's not true, and they both know it. But Jamal's pride runs deeper than his poverty. Richard puts away his wallet, but pulls out something else, an elegant business card holder made of gold-plated metal. As he extracts a personal card, Jamal notices something that makes his breath catch. The holder is engraved with a logo, a delicate cross design that's almost identical to the necklace hanging around Jamal's neck. "At least let me give you my contact information," Richard insists. "I want to make sure you're okay, and Sarah will want to thank you properly when she's feeling stronger." Jamal takes the card, his fingers tracing the embossed text. "Richard Westbrook, CEO, MW Foundation, supporting medical education since 1997. Below that, an address in Birmingham, the wealthy suburb where Jamal has never set foot. The cross logo seems to pulse in the fluorescent hospital light. MW Foundation? Jamal asks. My late wife's initials, Richard says quietly. Maria Westbrook. The foundation provides medical scholarships. He pauses, studying Jamal intently. Have you ever considered medical school? Jamal almost laughs. I work at a corner store, Mr. Westbrook. Medical school is for people like... He gestures around the hospital, at the doctors in their white coats, at Richard in his expensive clothes. People like you. Don't be so sure about that, Richard says, and there's something in his voice, a strange intensity that makes Jamal look up. Before Jamal can ask what he means, a nurse approaches. Mr. Westbrook, your wife would like to see you, and she specifically asked if the young man who helped her could visit. Richard turns to Jamal. Will you come, just for a minute? As they walk down the hallway, Jamal touches his cross necklace absently. The metal feels warm against his skin, like it always does when he's nervous or confused. In room 314, Sarah sits propped up in bed, holding her daughter. Both mother and baby glow with that special light that new families have. Sarah's face brightens when she sees Jamal. There's our hero, she says softly. Jamal approaches the bed hesitantly. The baby is awake, looking around with curious dark eyes that seem far too intelligent for someone only 2 hours old. Sarah reaches out and takes Jamal's hand. Your parents must be so proud of you. The words hit Jamal like a physical blow. His expression falters, just for a moment, but Sarah notices. I don't have parents, ma'am, Jamal says quietly. Never did. Sarah's eyes fill with tears she can't explain. Something about this brave, kind young man breaks her heart in the most beautiful way. Well, she whispers, squeezing his hand. You've got us now. The walk home from Mercy General takes Jamal through neighborhoods that change like seasons, from the medical district's clean sidewalks to the cracked pavement and boarded windows of his reality. Rain still drizzles, turning the streetlights into blurry halos. Jamal pulls Richard's business card from his pocket, studying it under a flickering street lamp. The embossed text catches the light. MW Foundation, supporting medical education since 1997. 17 years ago, the same year Jamal was born. The cross logo gleams gold against the white cardstock. Jamal touches his own necklace, comparing the designs. They're not just similar, they're identical. Down to the delicate scrollwork around the edges, the subtle Celtic knots at each point. What are the odds? Back at the apartment above Chen's corner store, Mrs. Rodriguez waits up despite her exhaustion. She sits in her worn recliner, wrapped in the patchwork quilt Jamal bought her last Christmas with his store savings. Mijo, you're soaked. What happened to your shirt? Jamal tells her about the delivery, about Sarah and Richard and the baby. He watches Mrs. Rodriguez's face carefully as he mentions their names. The woman's name was Sarah, he says casually. Sarah Westbrook. Mrs. Rodriguez goes completely still. Her dark eyes widen, and all color drains from her weathered face. Westbrook? Her voice is barely a whisper. Did you say Westbrook? Yeah. And her husband Richard. Why? Do you know them? Mrs. Rodriguez stands abruptly, her hands shaking as she clutches the quilt. No, mijo, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. But her reaction tells a different story. There's recognition in her eyes, fear, and something else. Guilt? Mrs. Rodriguez, what's wrong? Nothing. She waves him off, but won't meet his eyes. I'm just tired. Tell me about the baby. Jamal describes the delivery, but Mrs. Rodriguez barely listens. She keeps fidgeting with her hands, glancing toward the old shoebox she keeps hidden under her bed. The one Jamal isn't supposed to know about. That night, after Mrs. Rodriguez falls asleep, Jamal lies awake staring at the business card. On impulse, he grabs his ancient laptop and searches for the MW Foundation. The website loads slowly, revealing photos of scholarship ceremonies and medical students. But one image makes Jamal's heart stop. A photograph from 1997 shows Richard Westbrook at a hospital dedication. He's younger, his hair darker, but unmistakably the same man. Standing beside him is a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. The caption reads, "Richard and Maria Westbrook at the Sacred Heart Hospital Memorial Wing dedication." Sacred Heart Hospital. The same hospital where Jamal was found as a baby. Jamal zooms in on Maria's face. She's wearing a cross necklace identical to his own. But what shakes him most is her expression. Looking at her photograph, Jamal feels like he's looking into a mirror. The same eyes, the same determined jawline, the same compassionate smile that Mrs. Rodriguez always says comes from deep in his soul. The timestamp on the photo shows it was taken 3 months before Jamal was born. As storm clouds gather again outside his window, Jamal touches his cross necklace and wonders if the universe is trying to tell him something he's not ready to hear. Tomorrow, the truth will find him whether he's ready or not. 3 days pass in a blur of normal routine that feels anything but normal. Jamal stocks shelves, rings up customers, and studies his medical books, but his mind keeps drifting to Richard's business card and that photograph of Maria Westbrook. Every time he touches his cross necklace, he thinks about her kind eyes and their impossible resemblance. Friday afternoon brings another Detroit thunderstorm. Jamal is restocking the pharmacy section when the store's bell chimes. He looks up from counting aspirin bottles and freezes. Richard Westbrook stands in the doorway looking completely out of place among the discount groceries and lottery ticket displays. His expensive suit is perfectly pressed despite the rain, but his face carries the weight of someone who hasn't slept in days. Behind the counter, Mrs. Rodriguez looks up from her crossword puzzle. The moment she sees Richard, her pencil clatters to the floor. "Rosa?" Richard's voice is barely a whisper, filled with 17 years of pain and disbelief. "Dios mío," Mrs. Rodriguez breathes, her hands flying to her chest. "After all these years." Jamal looks between them, his world tilting sideways. "You two know each other?" Neither adult answers. They stare at each other like ghosts from a shared past, tears already forming in Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes. "Rosa, I never thought I'd see you again," Richard says, stepping closer. "When Jamal told me his guardian's name was Rodriguez, I wondered. But I never imagined." "You know my name?" Jamal's voice cracks. "How do you know my name?" Mrs. Rodriguez begins to cry in earnest now. Deep, soul-shaking sobs that seem to come from 17 years of buried secrets. "Mijo," she whispers, "sit down, please." But Jamal remains standing, his entire body rigid with confusion and growing dread. "What's going on? How do you two know each other?" Richard moves closer, his eyes never leaving Jamal's face. 17 years ago, my first wife Maria was pregnant. She went into labor during a storm, just like Sarah did 3 nights ago. Jamal's breath catches. "Your first wife?" "Maria Rodriguez Westbrook," Richard continues, his voice breaking. "Rosa's younger sister. They were both nurses at Sacred Heart Hospital." The words hit Jamal like a physical blow. He grabs the counter for support, his legs suddenly unsteady. "But we didn't make it to the hospital in time," Richard continues, tears streaming down his face. "Maria died giving birth to our son. She died bringing you into this world, Jamal." The silence that follows is deafening. Outside, thunder rumbles, but inside Chen's corner store, time seems suspended. "No," Jamal whispers. "That's not—" "Mrs. Rodriguez, tell him that's not true." But Mrs. Rodriguez can barely speak through her tears. "I'm sorry, mijo. I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you 1,000 times, but Richard, he was so broken, so angry." "I blamed you," Richard says, his voice raw with shame. "God forgive me. I blamed an innocent baby for taking the love of my life away from me." I couldn't look at you without seeing her death. Jamal's hand moves automatically to his cross necklace, the motion so familiar it's like breathing. But now the weight of it feels different, heavier, more significant. This necklace, Jamal whispers. It was your mother's, Richard confirms. Rosa insisted you should have something of hers when she offered to take you. Mrs. Rodriguez finally finds her voice. You were so tiny, mijo. So perfect. Maria made me promise that if anything happened to her, I would love you like my own son, and I have. Every single day I have. Why didn't you tell me? Jamal's voice is barely audible. Why didn't either of you tell me? Because I was a coward, Richard says simply. I was too destroyed by grief to be the father you deserved. Rosa was stronger than me, braver than me. She gave you the love I was too broken to give. The pieces fall into place with sickening clarity. The MW Foundation, Maria Westbrook Foundation, the medical scholarships, Richard's reaction when Jamal mentioned medical school, Sarah's inexplicable maternal instinct toward him. The night I helped Sarah, Jamal says slowly, you didn't just meet a stranger who delivered your baby. You met your son. I knew, Richard whispers. The moment I really looked at you, I knew. You have her eyes, her compassion, her instinct to help people even when it costs you everything. And Sarah? I told her everything that night at the hospital. About Maria, about you, about what a fool I've been. Richard's voice breaks completely. She said it wasn't coincidence. She said Maria sent you to us. Mrs. Rodriguez reaches for Jamal's hand, but he pulls away, overwhelmed by the magnitude of these revelations. So when I saved Sarah's life, Jamal's voice is hollow with shock. You saved your stepmother, Richard finishes, and you delivered your half-sister. And in doing so, you saved me too. Watching you that night, seeing Maria's kindness and strength in you, I realized what a terrible mistake I made 17 years ago. Jamal stares at his hands, the same hands that delivered baby Maria, that have stocked shelves and counted pills and dreamed impossible dreams, the same hands that belong to Richard Westbrook's abandoned son. I don't understand, Jamal whispers. If you're my father, why do I feel like I'm meeting a stranger? The question hangs in the air like smoke, heavy with years of missed birthdays, lost conversations, and love that was never shared. Richard looks at this young man, his son, who has grown into everything he could have hoped for without any help from him at all. Because you are meeting a stranger, Jamal. But I'm praying that maybe it's not too late for us to get to know each other. Outside, the thunder grows louder, as if the universe itself is holding its breath for Jamal's answer. The silence stretches between them like a bridge neither knows how to cross. Jamal stares at Richard, this stranger who claims to be his father, trying to reconcile 17 years of questions with this moment of impossible answers. I need some air, Jamal finally says, pushing past both adults toward the store's exit. Mijo, wait! Mrs. Rodriguez calls, but Jamal is already outside, standing in the rain that seems to follow him everywhere these days. Richard follows, leaving Mrs. Rodriguez in the store with her tears and her decades of carried secrets. Jamal, please, let me explain. Explain what? Jamal whirls around, his voice cracking with emotion. That you threw me away like garbage? That you let me grow up thinking I was unwanted while you lived in your mansion feeling sorry for yourself? The words hit Richard like physical blows, but he doesn't flinch. You're right. Everything you're saying is right. I failed you in every possible way. Then why are you here now? Jamal's eyes blaze with hurt and anger. Guilt? Pity? Because you need to feel better about abandoning your son? Because I want to make it right, Richard says quietly. I know I can't undo 17 years of mistakes, but I can try to honor the last 17 years of your life. And maybe if you'll let me, I can be part of the next 17. Jamal laughs bitterly. What could you possibly do to make this right? Richard takes a deep breath, pulling out a folder he's been carrying. First, I want to offer you something that should have been yours from the beginning. Full scholarship to University of Michigan's pre-med program. Tuition, room, board, books, everything. No strings attached. Jamal stares at the scholarship papers, his hands shaking. You think money fixes this? No, Richard says firmly. Money doesn't fix abandoning my son, but it might help fulfill his dreams, the dreams you've had to put aside to take care of Rosa, to work at that store, to survive when you should have been thriving. I don't want your charity. It's not charity, Jamal. It's what your mother would have wanted. Maria always said the best doctors are the ones who understand suffering, who know what it means to fight for something. Richard's voice grows stronger. You've been fighting your whole life. Let me help you fight for this. Despite himself, Jamal looks at the papers. University of Michigan. Pre-med. Full ride. Everything he's dreamed about during those late nights with borrowed textbooks. There's more, Richard continues. I want you to join the MW Foundation Board. Help me decide which students get medical scholarships. Your voice, your experience, that's what's been missing from the foundation all these years. Why would you want me on your board? Because you understand what these kids are going through. You know what it's like to have dreams bigger than your circumstances. Richard pauses. And because your mother always said that healing comes from helping others heal. Jamal's anger wavers, replaced by something more complicated. What about Mrs. Rodriguez? I can't just abandon her like you abandoned me. Richard's face softens. Rosa has given you 17 years of her life. Let me give her the security she deserves. He pulls out another folder. Patient Advocate Coordinator for the MW Foundation. Full salary, comprehensive health insurance, and we'll cover all her medical expenses. Diabetes treatment, insulin, everything. Mrs. Rodriguez appears in the store doorway, having heard the conversation. Mijo, you don't have to worry about me. I'm not leaving you, Jamal says fiercely. And you don't have to, Richard interjects. Rosa, I'm offering you a position because I need you. The foundation helps kids like Jamal, but we don't understand their families, their struggles. You do. Mrs. Rodriguez wipes her eyes. You want me to work with you? After everything? I want to honor the woman who raised my son when I was too broken to do it myself, Richard says simply. I want to learn from you how to love the way you've loved him. Jamal looks between them, his world reshaping itself in real time. What about your family, Sarah and the baby? Richard's expression brightens. Sarah wants to meet you properly. She wants you to be part of our family, not replacing what you have with Rosa, but adding to it. His voice grows emotional. We're naming the baby Maria, after your mother. She'll grow up knowing her big brother is a hero. And you? Jamal asks quietly. What do you want? Richard's composure finally breaks. I want my son back. I want to know who you are, what you love, what makes you laugh. I want to be proud of you the way I should have been proud of you every day for 17 years. He pauses, wiping his eyes. But mostly, I want to earn the right to call you my son. Not because of biology, but because you choose to let me. Jamal stares at this broken, hopeful man who claims to be his father. The offer is everything he's ever dreamed of. Medical school, financial security for Mrs. Rodriguez, a real family. But dreams coming true feel surreal when they arrive wrapped in 17 years of abandonment. I have conditions, Jamal says finally. Richard nods eagerly. Anything. Mrs. Rodriguez and I are a package deal. She's not just getting a job, she's getting the respect and honor she deserves for raising me. Absolutely. And I don't want you to try to buy my forgiveness. I want you to earn it. Day by day, conversation by conversation. I understand. And if I do this, if I take the scholarship and join your foundation, It's not because you're my biological father, it's because I want to help other kids who grew up like me. Richard smiles through his tears. Your mother would be so proud of who you've become. Jamal touches his cross necklace one last time as someone else's son. When he looks up, his eyes hold a different light. Okay, he says quietly. Let's try to be a family. As if summoned by his words, the storm finally breaks and sunshine streams through the clouds for the first time in days. 6 months later, the local Detroit news van pulls up to what used to be Chen's corner store. The faded sign has been replaced with gleaming letters, Rosa's Community Health Hub. Reporters adjust their microphones as Jamal Washington, now clean-cut in a University of Michigan sweatshirt, stands beside Richard Westbrook in front of a banner reading, Maria Westbrook Memorial Scholarship, 50 recipients this year. I'm here with an incredible father-son story, reporter Angela Martinez tells the camera. 6 months ago, 17-year-old Jamal Washington was stocking shelves and studying medical textbooks from the library. Today, he's a pre-med student with a perfect 4.0 GPA and a board member of one of Michigan's fastest-growing educational foundations. The camera pans across the transformed storefront. Where customers once bought lottery tickets and processed food, Rosa Rodriguez, healthy and glowing in her crisp coordinator uniform, teaches CPR to a group of teenagers. A plaque by the door reads, Where Heroes Are Made. Inside, the back room has been converted into a community health center. Free blood pressure screenings every Tuesday. Diabetes education classes on weekends. Basic first aid training for anyone who wants to learn. The same neighborhood kids who once called Jamal Dr. Dreamer now line up for his CPR workshops during summer break. Mrs. Rodriguez, how has your life changed? The reporter asks. Rosa beams, her diabetes under perfect control thanks to comprehensive health care coverage. Mijo always took care of me, but now I get to take care of the whole community. These kids, they remind me why I became a nurse 40 years ago. The news segment cuts to University of Michigan's medical campus. Jamal walks across the quad carrying actual textbooks, not borrowed ones, surrounded by classmates who respect his practical experience. His anatomy professor, Dr. Sarah Chen, speaks to the camera. Jamal has an unusual combination of textbook knowledge and real-world experience. He understands that medicine isn't just about science, it's about humanity. Other students come to him for advice because he's actually delivered a baby, actually saved lives. In his dorm room, Jamal video calls with baby Maria, now 6 months old and babbling happily at the screen. Sarah holds her daughter up to the camera, both of them grinning. Say hi to big brother Jamal, Sarah coos. He's the one who brought you into this world. The baby reaches for the screen with chubby fingers, making everyone laugh. The MW Foundation's new headquarters bustles with activity. Richard leads a board meeting where Jamal reviews scholarship applications from students across Michigan. His voice carries quiet authority as he advocates for a young man from Flint, whose situation mirrors his own from just months ago. Marcus here works 30 hours a week to support his grandmother while maintaining a 3.8 GPA, Jamal explains to the other board members. His essay about wanting to become an EMT isn't just academic. It's personal. These are exactly the students we should be supporting. The foundation's impact spreads beyond individual scholarships. Local hospitals report a 40% increase in applications for EMT and medical training programs. The story of the teenage hero who delivered a baby in a storm has inspired thousands. Social media explodes with hashtag Jamal the Hero posts. TikTok fills with kindness challenge videos. Teenagers helping elderly neighbors, volunteering at food banks, learning CPR. One viral video shows a high school student in Chicago delivering a baby with guidance from 911 dispatch, crediting Jamal's story for inspiring him to take a first aid class. Medical schools nationwide adjust their admissions criteria, giving more weight to applicants with demonstrated community service and real-world experience. The Jamal effect, as education journalists call it, proves that heroes can come from anywhere. At Mercy General Hospital, a new memorial garden honors Maria Westbrook. Richard and Jamal plant the first tree together, a symbolic oak that will grow strong and tall, providing shelter for future generations. The plaque reads, "In memory of Maria Westbrook, healer, mother, inspiration. Her love lives on in every life her son saves." The Foundation's annual report shows staggering growth, from one scholarship recipient to over 200 students supported. The waiting list includes applications from every state, each essay telling a story of dreams deferred by circumstances but not defeated by them. Local elementary schools now require first aid training as part of their curriculum. The Jamal Washington Safety Program teaches kids basic emergency response, turning every child into a potential lifesaver. Jamal's old high school retires his locker, replacing it with a display case showcasing medical textbooks and the original newspaper clipping about the stormy night delivery. Students stop to read about their graduate who proved that heroes aren't born. They're made through daily choices to help others. The community transformation ripples outward like waves from a stone thrown in still water. One act of kindness on a stormy night has grown into a movement that spans states and touches thousands of lives. But the most remarkable change isn't measured in scholarships or news coverage. It's seen in the weekly coffee meetings between a father and son, slowly building the relationship they lost 17 years ago. One conversation at a time. 2 years later, the rain starts just as Jamal Washington, now a junior pre-med student with acceptance letters from 3 medical schools, walks through downtown Detroit after his hospital volunteer shift. The familiar sound of raindrops on pavement makes him smile instead of run for cover. He's learned to appreciate storms. 2 blocks from the university shuttle stop, Jamal hears the screech of brakes and the sickening crunch of metal meeting metal. A Honda Civic has skidded into a fire hydrant, steam rising from its crumpled hood. Without hesitation, Jamal runs toward the accident, his medical bag bouncing against his hip. Some things never change. Inside the car, an elderly black man clutches his chest, his face gray with pain. His granddaughter, maybe 16, stares at him in terror from the driver's seat. "Sir, can you hear me?" Jamal yanks open the passenger door, immediately checking the man's pulse. Rapid and irregular. Classic signs of cardiac distress. "Granddaddy, wake up!" the girl cries. "Please don't leave me." "What's your grandfather's name?" Jamal asks, pulling out his phone to call 911. William Jackson. Is he going to be okay?" Jamal positions himself carefully, placing his hands on William's chest. "I'm going to help him, but I need you to stay calm for me. Can you do that?" The girl nods through her tears. Jamal begins chest compressions, counting steadily. His training has evolved far beyond library textbooks. He now has 2 years of real hospital experience, countless hours with actual patients. But the core of who he is remains the same. "Come on, Mr. Jackson," Jamal whispers between compressions. "Your granddaughter needs you." After 30 compressions and 2 rescue breaths, William's eyes flutter open. He takes a shaky breath, color returning to his face. "Thank you," he gasps, gripping Jamal's hand. "Thank you for stopping." Sirens wail in the distance. The granddaughter looks at Jamal with the same expression Sarah Westbrook had 3 years ago, pure gratitude mixed with awe. "Can we pay you something?" she asks, as paramedics take over. "Give you a reward?" Jamal smiles, remembering another rainy night and a similar question. "Just pass it on," he says. "Help someone else when you get the chance." As the ambulance drives away, Jamal pulls out his phone and calls the number he now knows by heart. "Dad," he says. The word comes naturally now, earned through weekly coffee dates and shared foundation work. "I helped someone today. It felt like Mom was watching." Richard's voice is thick with emotion. "She is, son. She always is." That evening, Jamal studies in his off-campus apartment, Mrs. Rodriguez knitting in her favorite chair nearby. Photos of his expanded family cover the walls. Graduation pictures, foundation events, baby Maria taking her first steps. His silver cross necklace catches the lamplight as he reads about emergency cardiac procedures. Tomorrow, he starts his surgical rotation at Mercy General, the same hospital where he was born, where baby Maria came into the world, where his journey from abandoned infant to future doctor truly began. Some circles are meant to be completed. Outside, the storm passes, leaving the air clean and full of possibility. And somewhere in Detroit, a teenage girl remembers a stranger's kindness and decides that maybe, someday, she'll become a paramedic too. Jamal's story proves something incredible. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things. One 17-year-old with library books and a good heart changed not just his own life, but the lives of thousands of others. That one act of kindness on a stormy night rippled through generations. It reunited a broken family, launched a medical career, and inspired a movement that's still growing today. Here's what I want you to think about. What if the next person who needs help is standing right in front of you? Maybe it's not delivering a baby in a thunderstorm. Maybe it's carrying groceries for an elderly neighbor, tutoring a struggling classmate, or simply listening when someone needs to be heard. Small acts create big changes. Your kindness could be someone's turning point. Tell me in the comments, what's one small act of kindness you could do today? And if Jamal's story inspired you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to believe in good people. Subscribe to Black Voices Speak for more stories that prove kindness is the most powerful force in the world. Because you never know, the stranger you help today might just be the key to your tomorrow.